I thought my best friend was borrowing my clothes and makeup, but in reality she was borrowing me, stealing my name, my credit, and even my future until I could barely recognize who I was anymore. Her name was Tessa. We met in 7th grade, two awkward kids sitting side by side in homeroom, both trying to disappear into oversized hoodies. She was louder than me, sharper too. Someone who seemed to know how to bend every social rule without getting caught. I was the quiet one, the listener, the responsible friend. Somehow we fit together. By high school, people rarely said my name without hers. Maya and Tessa. Tessa and Maya. A package deal. She borrowed my shoes before dances. I copied her history notes before finals. We promised we'd be in each other's weddings someday. Looking back, I can't pinpoint when admiration turned into imitation. Maybe it was the first time she dyed her hair the same shade as mine. Maybe when she started signing her emails with the same flourish I used. I laughed it off, flattered even. After all, wasn't imitation the sincerest form of flattery? It wasn't flattery. It was practice. The first sign came on a Tuesday morning months after we'd moved into our first apartments across town. I opened my mailbox and found a letter from a credit card company I didn't recognize. "Thank you for your application," it read. "We'll be in touch." Only I hadn't applied for anything. I shrugged it off as a mix-up. Maybe someone typed the wrong social security number. I tossed the letter in the trash and didn't mention it to anyone. Not even Tessa. But then a second letter came. This time it said, "Congratulations, your new account is active." My stomach dropped. I called the company, rattling off my personal details, only to hear something that made my pulse slam in my ears. The mailing address on file wasn't mine. It was hers. Tessa's. I laughed nervously, trying to play it cool. That's strange. She must have used my info by mistake. But the rep on the phone wasn't laughing. They used words like fraud investigation and legal responsibility. I hung up before they asked more questions. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. That night I confronted Tessa casually, like I was just curious. "Hey, weird thing. I got a letter about a credit card. It had your address." Her eyes widened for a split second, too quick for most people to notice, but I did. Then she forced a laugh. "Oh my God, that must be some glitch. Don't worry about it, May. These companies mess stuff up all the time." I wanted to believe her. She was my best friend. My ride or die. The girl who held my hair back when I got sick at prom. Who cried with me the night my parents separated. But in that laugh I heard something else. Crack. Weeks passed. Life went on. She borrowed a dress for a date. I borrowed her air fryer for the weekend. Everything looked normal on the outside. But then came the next blow. I was at work when my phone buzzed with a notification. Payment declined. My debit card. Embarrassed, I hurried to the ATM on my lunch break. My balance was a flat, impossible zero. Panic clawed at me. Rent was due. Bills were stacked on my counter. I raced to the bank, only to discover withdrawals I hadn't made. Charges in places I hadn't been. Someone was living as me. And the address attached to one of the transfers? Her street. I left the bank in a daze, the city spinning around me. Every honk, every voice on the sidewalk blurred into white noise. That night I drove to Tessa's. She opened the door in my sweater. My sweater. She smiled like nothing was wrong. "Why night?" she asked, holding up a bottle. But behind her on the counter, I saw something that made my blood run cold. A credit card statement. With my name on it. She noticed where I was looking. And for the first time in 15 years of friendship, her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Don't overthink this, May," she said softly. "You and me, we share everything." And in that moment, staring at my name printed on a bill inside her kitchen, I realized this wasn't sharing. This was theft. And I had no idea how far she'd already gone. I thought she only wanted my money, but then I realized she wanted my life. After that night in her apartment, sleep became impossible. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The image of my name on her bill seared into my brain. I kept asking myself the same question. How long had this been going on? Months? Years? The next morning I pulled out every piece of mail, every bill, every notification I had stacked on my kitchen counter. I combed through them like they were crime scene evidence. That's when I noticed the small inconsistencies, charges I didn't remember, Addresses that weren't mine, even a phone number on one account that looked familiar but wasn't mine either. It was hers. Tessa had slipped her number into my official records. Somewhere, she'd managed to stitch herself into my identity, so seamlessly that companies thought we were the same person. I felt my stomach twist. I grabbed my laptop and pulled up my credit report, my fingers trembling over the keyboard. I'd never checked it before, why would I? I'd always paid on time, lived carefully, avoided debt. But when the report loaded, I nearly dropped my coffee. There were 6 credit cards under my name, 2 car leases, even an apartment rental in another city. None of them were mine. I sat frozen at my table, the glow of the screen casting harsh shadows across my kitchen. I couldn't breathe. It felt like my life had been carved into pieces and handed to a stranger. Except that stranger wasn't a stranger. She was my best friend. I called her, my voice shaking. Tessa. What the hell is this? She didn't even flinch. You're being dramatic, May. It's just paperwork. You know I've had rough patches. I didn't think you'd mind. Didn't think I'd mind. Like draining my accounts, wrecking my credit, and tying my name to debts wasn't catastrophic. Like erasing me and replacing me was no big deal. I hung up without another word. My heart pounded so violently I thought it might crack my ribs. For the next week I lived in survival mode. Called banks, froze accounts, reported fraudulent activity. But every time I thought I'd sealed a leak, another opened. She was everywhere. Her fingerprints smeared across my life. And then came the moment that shattered whatever denial I still clung to. I met a man at a coffee shop. A stranger who smiled at me like we knew each other. He walked right up to my table. Maya? He said, eyes lighting up. I almost didn't recognize you. No red dress today? I blinked confused. I'm sorry, Dewey. It's me, Aaron, he said, his grin faltering. From last week. We went out. I froze. My throat went dry. I had never seen this man before in my life. But someone had. Someone who had introduced herself as me. I think you've made a mistake. I whispered, my voice barely audible. His smile collapsed. He stepped back, muttering something under his breath before storming out of the cafe. I sat there, shaking so badly I had to grip the table. People were staring. I didn't care. Tessa wasn't just stealing my money. She was wearing my skin. I drove straight to her place, my pulse hammering the whole way. She opened the door with a careless smirk, her hair styled exactly like mine, even parted on the same side. What now? She sighed. I wanted to scream. Instead, I forced my voice low and steady. You went out with someone. Using my name. Her eyes gleamed, unbothered. He thought you were charming, she said. You should thank me. That's when it hit me. She didn't see this as theft. She saw it as entitlement. As if my life was hers to borrow whenever she pleased. My hands curled into fists, nails biting into my palms. Tessa, this stops now. She tilted her head, her smile widening. You can't stop me. And in that instant I knew she was right, because she already had a head start on becoming me, and I had no idea how far she'd gone. I thought I was reclaiming pieces of myself, but every record I checked only proved she'd taken more than I ever imagined. The morning after that confrontation, I drove straight to the county clerk's office. My hands clutched the steering wheel so tightly the leather squeaked beneath my grip. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for. Just some proof that I wasn't losing my mind. The clerk behind the glass window tapped at her keyboard when I asked about leases and contracts under my name. She frowned. Which one? We have multiple. Multiple. I leaned closer. Can you print them? 10 minutes later, I was holding a stack of papers so thick it could have been a novel. Apartment rentals, car leases, even a business registration. All tied to my social security number. All carrying my signature. Except the strokes didn't look like mine. They looked like a shadow trying to mimic my handwriting. The name printed across every page was Maya Carter. My name. But the address, the phone numbers, the witnesses? Hers. Tessa. I stumbled into the parking lot. The pages clutched to my chest like they might explode if I let them go. The sun felt too bright, too cruel, as if the whole city was in on the joke. How long had she been weaving this web? How many lives had she lived in my skin while I went about my quiet little routines, blind and trusting? That night I laid the documents across my kitchen table, one by one trying to build a timeline. It was like looking at a photo album of a stranger wearing my face. She'd leased a car in my name 3 years ago, rented an apartment last summer, opened 2 lines of credit last winter, and then one paper stopped me cold. It was a mortgage application, pending approval. A house. She wasn't done stealing. She was just getting started. I picked up my phone, dialing her number with trembling fingers. She answered on the second ring, her voice breezy as if nothing had happened. "Hey May. Miss you. Why are you doing this to me?" My words cracked like glass. A pause. Then laughter. Soft, dismissive. "Doing what? We've always shared everything. Clothes, secrets, now opportunities. You should be flattered." Flattered? My voice rose. "You've ruined my credit. You're destroying my name. You're living better than you ever did," she cut in. "And you know what? People like me more when I'm you. Doesn't that sting?" Her words sliced through me. I slammed the phone down, chest heaving while clawing its way up my throat. For a long time I just sat there staring at the papers, fighting the urge to set them on fire. But fire wouldn't erase this. Fire wouldn't prove anything. I needed evidence. Real, undeniable proof. So I started a new ritual. Every night after work I'd dig. I combed through online databases, pulled bank statements, filed for copies of every legal document under my name. My apartment became a bunker of manila folders and sticky notes, red strings connecting dates and addresses across my living room wall. The deeper I dug, the more it felt like I was chasing a ghost wearing my smile. Then one evening I opened her Instagram. She'd posted a photo at a rooftop bar, cocktail in hand. At first, nothing seemed unusual, until I looked closer at the reflection in the window behind her. A man's hand rested on her shoulder, his face half hidden. But I recognized the cuff of his shirt, because it was the same man who'd called me by name at the coffee shop, the one who thought we'd gone on a date. My chest tightened as a horrifying realization washed over me. Tessa wasn't just stealing my credit. She wasn't just stealing my records. She was stealing my relationships before I even had them. And the man in that reflection? He looked like someone who thought he was falling for me. That's when I understood. She wasn't content with my name or my money. She wanted to take my future love too. He looked at me like I was a liar, because she had already told him who I was supposed to be. The rooftop photo burned in my mind for days. I couldn't shake the reflection of his hand on her shoulder, the half-hidden smile aimed at the wrong woman. It was as if someone had taken my future and handed it to her like a gift. I told myself to let it go, but every time I tried to work, to cook, to sleep, his voice replayed in my head. The way he'd said my name at the cafe like it meant something. Like there had been history between us that I'd never lived. So when I saw him again, it felt like the universe was giving me a chance to reclaim what was stolen. It happened outside a bookstore. I was juggling a paper bag of groceries when I heard, "Maya." His voice cut through the crowd. I turned, my heart thundering. It was him, Aaron. Same gentle eyes, same half-crooked smile. Relief washed over me. Maybe now I could explain. Maybe he would believe me. "Aaron," I said quickly, before he could walk closer. "We need to talk. About Tessa." But his smile faded instantly. His eyes narrowed like shutters closing. "Oh, so you are admitting it now," he muttered. "Tessa warned me you might pull this." "Warned you?" My stomach dropped. He nodded, his voice clipped. "She said you've been unstable. That you'd try to pretend she was using your name. That you'd twist things." My throat closed. It was as if Tessa had anticipated every word I might say and built a wall of lies before I could even open my mouth. "Aaron, listen to me." I stepped forward, desperation clawing at my chest. "She's not who you think she is. She's pretending to be me. She's using my name, my records, even my credit. She's..." He raised a hand, stopping me. His expression was colder now, almost pitying. "Look, I don't know what happened between you two. But she told me you'd say exactly this. She said you'd try to convince people she was the imposter. Honestly?" He shook his head. "I don't have time for whatever game this is." Game. The word hit me like a slap. I wanted to scream, to shake him, to drag him into my apartment and show him the stacks of fraudulent documents, the credit reports, the mess she'd left in my life. But even if I did, would he believe me? Or would he think I'd fabricated it just like she told him I would? I stood there on the sidewalk, groceries cutting into my arms, as Aaron walked away without another glance. The distance between us felt permanent, like he'd stepped into her world and left mine behind. By the time I got home, rage had curdled into something sharper: resolve. If Tessa wanted to rewrite reality, fine. I would gather evidence so undeniable that even her silver tongue couldn't erase it. That night I went through her social media again. Photos, captions, tag locations. And then I saw it, an RSVP to a charity gala under my name. Not hers. Mine. She wasn't just stealing my identity in the shadows anymore. She was parading it in public, weaving herself into circles I had never even touched. And if she was bold enough to play me at a gala packed with cameras and witnesses, I realized there was only one way to stop doubting myself. I had to show up too. And as I stared at the glowing event invitation on my screen, I knew that if I walked into that room, only one of us would leave as Maya Carter. The night I walked into that gala, I wasn't just fighting for my reputation. I was fighting for the right to exist as myself. The venue glowed like a palace, chandeliers spilling gold light across polished marble floors. Guests in silk gowns and black tuxedos streamed past me, their laughter echoing against the vaulted ceiling. I should have felt out of place, but adrenaline numbed me. My heels clicked like war drums as I crossed the lobby. I kept my clutch pressed tight against me. Inside were the papers I'd collected. Fraudulent contracts, fake leases, credit reports with her fingerprints all over them. My arsenal. Then I saw her. Tessa. She stood at the center of a crowd near the champagne bar. My name stitched across the badge pinned to her gown. Maya Carter. She wore her hair styled exactly like mine, down to the loose strand tucked behind her ear. Even her dress looked like one I'd once worn to a cousin's wedding, only tailored to perfection. And the way she carried herself, confident, gracious, magnetic, it was like watching a distorted mirror version of me. One who'd stepped into the life I'd never been given. People leaned toward her, charmed. They believed her. I felt my chest tighten, but I forced myself forward. Every step was a battle against the fear that I was walking into a trap she'd already set. When she spotted me, her smile didn't falter. Not for a second. She excused herself from the group and glided toward me, heels barely whispering against the marble. "May," she purred, her voice sweet as honey. "I didn't think you'd come." I wanted to shout, "That's because you didn't invite me." But instead I locked eyes with her and whispered, "Take off that badge." Her grin widened. "Why? You're not using it." The crowd around us buzzed, curious eyes flicking our way. She thrived under the attention, her performance sharpening with every glance. "She's pretending to be me," I announced, my voice louder than I expected. Conversations hushed. A few heads turned fully. Tessa didn't flinch. Instead, she placed a hand over her chest, feigning shock. "Maya, please don't do this again. We talked about your episodes." Laughter rippled uncomfortably through the onlookers. Episodes? She was painting me as unstable. Right there in front of everyone. I pulled the papers from my clutch, shoving them toward the nearest table. "These are contracts. Leases. Credit reports." She forged my name. She's been living as me. But before anyone could lean closer, Tessa let out a soft, pitying sigh. "Do you see what I mean? She collects random paperwork, convinces herself it's proof, and then storms into events like this." She turned to the crowd, her eyes glistening. "She's my oldest friend. I love her. But she needs help." It was a masterful performance. Gaslight dressed as compassion. And the worst part? I saw people nodding, believing her. My throat burned. I wanted to scream, to rip the badge from her chest, to demand they compare signatures. But rage wouldn't save me here. So I steadied my voice and said, "Then let's prove it. Right now." I pulled a pen from the table, grabbed a napkin, and scribbled my signature across it. "If you're me," I said, holding it up, "sign your name next to mine." Her smile faltered for the first time. Just slightly. But enough. Eyes turned toward her, waiting. She didn't reach for the pen. Instead, she leaned close so only I could hear. Her whisper sliced through me. "If you force me tonight, I'll burn everything you have left. Your job. Your family. Your future. You'll have nothing to go back to." Then she stepped back, her smile restored, her voice light. "Not tonight, May. Let's not embarrass ourselves further." And before I could respond, a hand touched my shoulder. "Security. Ma'am, we're going to need you to leave." As they led me out under the harsh glare of the lobby lights, I realized the truth. I hadn't exposed her. She'd exposed me. As the crazy woman claiming she didn't exist. The night they dragged me out of that gala, I realized I wasn't just fighting Tessa. I was fighting the version of me she had already convinced the world was real. The cool night air hit my skin like ice as the security guard released my arm outside the venue. I stood on the sidewalk, heels wobbling on uneven pavement, clutched tight against my chest like a shield. Inside, I could still hear laughter, glasses clinking, her voice floating above the crowd. She was still in there, basking in attention that was supposed to be mine. For a moment, shame swallowed me whole. They had looked at me like I was the imposter, like I was some unstable stranger crashing an event I didn't belong at. And she had orchestrated all of it with the flick of a smile. But shame turned into something sharper on the walk home. My pulse steadied, my breathing slowed. I understood now. I couldn't beat her in front of an audience. Not yet. She thrived on performance, on bending perception until truth bent with it. If I wanted to win, I needed proof so undeniable it couldn't be dressed up as a delusion. So I called a lawyer. Her name was Angela, sharp suit, sharper eyes. She didn't waste time on small talk. I spread the forged documents across her desk like evidence in a trial, my voice trembling as I explained everything. Angela leaned back, scanning each page. "This isn't just messy," she said finally. "This is criminal. Identity theft, fraud, wire transfers. If you're right, she's facing prison time." The words should have made me feel safe, but instead a chill spread through me. Prison time meant war. If Tessa even suspected I was building a case, she'd strike harder, faster. Angela must have read the fear on my face. "The key," she said, "is to trap her in a lie she can't escape. Don't just bring me paper. Bring me her voice. Her face. Something she can't deny in court. Her voice. Her face." The thought burrowed into my mind as I left the office. That night I scrolled through Tessa's Instagram again, searching every caption, every photo. She'd posted stories bragging about my achievements, my credit cards, my invitations. Always vague enough to avoid suspicion, but not vague to me. Each post was like a breadcrumb, leading me deeper into her performance. Then I found it. A video clip from the gala reposted by someone else. In it, she laughed and introduced herself to a stranger, her voice ringing clear. "Hi, I'm Maya Carter." Hearing my name spill from her lips, polished and confident, made my chest ache. But this was what Angela needed. Her face, her voice, her fraud in motion. I saved it, backed it up, sent it to Angela. For the first time in weeks, hope flickered. But hope burned out fast when I came home the next evening and found my front door ajar. I froze in the hallway, breath locked in my throat. Slowly, I pushed the door open wider. Inside, my apartment looked untouched, except for one thing. On the kitchen counter sat a single envelope. No stamp. No address. Just my name, written in handwriting that mimicked mine almost perfectly. My hand shook as I tore it open. Inside was a photo of me, taken through the window of my living room, and scrawled across the back in her looping script. "Careful, May. You're not the only one watching." And as the photo slipped from my hands, I realized she hadn't just stolen my identity. She was now stalking my every move. The moment I saw that photo on my counter, I understood she wasn't just inside my finances anymore. She was inside my home, my sanctuary, the one place that was supposed to be mine. I didn't sleep that night. Every creak in the walls felt like her footsteps, every shadow like her silhouette. I sat in the living room with the lights off, clutching a kitchen knife I barely had the strength to hold. Eyes fixed on the window she'd clearly used to capture me. She wanted me paranoid. She wanted me unraveling. And for hours it worked. By dawn I realized something. Fear was her fuel. If I let it consume me, I'd play straight into her hands. So I changed tactics. I went back to Angela the lawyer and laid the photo on her desk. "She was in my apartment," I whispered. "She's watching me." Angela didn't flinch. "Good. That means she's sloppy. Sloppy means we can catch her." She leaned forward, her tone razor sharp. "Plant something. Give her bait. If she takes it, we'll have proof no one can deny. The thought of inviting Tessa deeper into my life made my stomach turn. But she was already inside. Pretending she wasn't didn't make it less true. That night I staged the trap. I printed fake bank statements, highlighted imaginary accounts, left them spread across my dining table. On top, I placed a handwritten note to myself. Call the bank Monday, move money before they freeze the account. Then I left. Purposefully. I spent the night at my cousin's apartment, checking my phone every hour waiting. By morning, dread sat heavy in my chest. I drove back, half hoping nothing had happened, half praying she'd taken the bait. When I opened the door, my heart lurched. The papers were gone. In their place sat another envelope. Inside was a note written in that same uncanny imitation of my handwriting. Thanks for the tip, May. Money's safe with me now. And tucked behind the note was a USB drive. I stared at it, my pulse hammering. With shaking hands, I plugged it into my laptop. A single video file blinked back at me. I pressed play. The screen filled with footage from a hidden camera. My own apartment, my own living room. And there she was. Tessa. Walking in like she owned the place. Opening drawers, rifling through papers, smirking directly at the lens as if she knew I'd eventually watch. At the end, she leaned close to the camera, her eyes glittering, and whispered, "You can't win, May. Because no one believes you exist anymore." When I watched her whisper into my own camera, I knew it was time to stop defending myself and start destroying her. Angela's office felt smaller than usual as I slid the USB across her desk. She plugged it in and we watched the footage together. Tessa, inside my apartment, smiling like she belonged there, mocking me with every glance at the lens. Angela didn't blink. This is it. This is what we needed. For the first time, hope flickered. Not a fragile hope, but sharp, hungry. Proof no smile, no story, no fake tears could erase. Angela leaned forward. "We can file criminal charges, but if you want to end this faster, we go public. She's playing you in front of crowds, social media, men she dates. Turn her stage against her. Public. The very arena where Tessa thrived." My chest tightened, but I nodded. "Let's do it." We picked our battleground carefully. A networking event Tessa had RSVP'd for under my name. High profile, cameras everywhere. Impossible for her to slither away unnoticed. I prepared like I was going to war. Documents organized. Video queued. Even my outfit, a simple black dress, was chosen to look unshakable. That night when I entered the venue, the air buzzed with chatter, perfume, clinking glasses. And there she was. Tessa. Wearing another version of me. She spotted me instantly and her smile stretched, smooth as ever. She drifted across the floor, champagne in hand, voice sweet. "Oh, May, still chasing me?" "No," I said calmly. "I'm ending you." Heads turned. Phones lifted. Perfect. I handed my phone to the event coordinator, who'd agreed to play the video on the projector. "Watch," I said loudly, my voice carrying across the room. "Watch her call herself me inside my apartment." The screen lit up. Gasps rippled as the footage played. Tessa slipping through my door, pawing through my things, staring into the camera. And then her whisper, "You can't win, May." The room fell silent. For the first time, Tessa's mask cracked. Her smile faltered, eyes darting. She opened her mouth, scrambling for words, but no script could cover what they had just seen. "She stole my name," I said, my voice steady, resonant. "My credit. My life. And now you've all seen it with your own eyes." People shifted, whispers rising. Someone muttered, "That's illegal." Another said, "Isn't that fraud?" Tessa's composure shattered. "She's lying. She planted this." Her voice pitched high, desperate. Angela stepped out from the crowd, holding the original USB. "Chain of custody is intact. I've already filed copies with law enforcement." The color drained from Tessa's face. Security, the same men who once dragged me out, now turned toward her. She stumbled backward, her eyes locking on mine. And for a heartbeat, the real Tessa showed through, the one behind all the masks. Not charming. Not confident. Just cornered. She hissed, low enough for only me to hear. "If I go down, you're coming with me." The night she was dragged out of that ballroom, I thought it was over. But the fight to get my life back had only just begun. Police reports. Depositions. Court hearings. My days blurred into endless paperwork and tense conversations in sterile rooms. Every detail of my life became evidence. My bank statements, my signatures, even photos of me in places Tessa had pretended to be. It felt invasive, humiliating, but necessary. Angela guided me through it like a commander in battle. Stay consistent, she reminded me. Facts win. Emotion clouds. Facts. I clung to them like lifelines. Tessa had signed leases in my name, opened accounts with my social security number, claimed my identity on video. Each fact another nail in the coffin she had built for herself. But she didn't go quietly. In court, she played her role to perfection. The wounded friend, betrayed by the one person she trusted most. She painted herself as the victim of my obsession, claimed I had fabricated the footage, hacked her accounts, stalked her every move. For a moment I felt the old panic rising, that she might bend the truth again, make them doubt me. But then Angela stood and pressed play. The footage filled the courtroom. Tessa smirking into my camera, whispering, "You can't win, May." The silence afterward was thunderous. Even the judge leaned forward, his jaw tight. When the verdict came, it was swift. Guilty. Fraud. Identity theft. Trespassing. I should have felt triumphant. I should have felt free. But sitting there, watching officers lead her away in cuffs, I didn't feel victory. I felt hollow. Because the truth was, she'd already stolen years of my life I could never reclaim. She'd left scars invisible to anyone else. Even now, people whispered. Even now, some weren't sure if I was the liar or the victim. After the trial, I walked out of the courthouse into blinding sunlight. Reporters shouted my name. Microphones shoved toward me. How does it feel to win? I wanted to tell them it didn't feel like winning. It felt like surviving. That night I sat alone in my apartment, staring at the walls where I once imagined her watching me. The locks had been changed, cameras installed, accounts frozen. My name was legally mine again. But peace? Peace was harder. I poured myself a glass of water, hands still trembling, and whispered aloud just to hear my own voice steady. "I am Maya Carter." It sounded fragile, but it was real. And then my phone buzzed. A blocked number. I hesitated, then answered. Static crackled. Then a voice I knew too well whispered on the other end. "This isn't over, May. Not for me. Not for you." I thought the trial would give me closure. But the truth is, you don't walk away untouched when someone steals your entire life. You walk away carrying the cracks they left behind. The call haunted me for weeks. That voice, hers, clung to the edges of my sleep, echoing in the quiet corners of my apartment. Rationally, I knew she was behind bars. Rationally, I knew she couldn't touch me. But paranoia doesn't listen to reason. Every knock at the door made my pulse spike. Every unfamiliar email address felt like a new trap. Even when I changed my phone, a part of me still waited for it to buzz with her whisper. "This isn't over." But slowly, I forced myself to reclaim pieces of my life. I started small, filing for new accounts under strict security, rebuilding credit brick by brick, updating IDs, photographs, passwords. At first, it felt like patching holes in a sinking ship. But one morning, I logged in and saw a balance in my account that was mine and mine alone. No mysterious charges. No shadow signatures. Just me. I cried quietly at my own kitchen table. Next came people. Friends I'd pushed away during the chaos reached out. Some apologized for believing her. Some admitted they'd been confused, unsure who to trust. I didn't blame them, not anymore. Tessa's lies had been polished enough to shine. But rebuilding trust was harder. With them. With myself. One evening, Aaron, the man who once thought he'd dated me, showed up at the cafe where it had all begun. He sat across from me, eyes full of guilt. "I'm sorry," he said simply, "for believing her. For doubting you." I studied his face, searching for resentment, for pity. Instead I saw regret. And something else, recognition. Not of the mask Tessa had worn, but of me. The real me. For the first time I let myself smile without flinching. Life didn't return to what it was before. It couldn't. But maybe that was the point. Because Tessa had taught me something in the cruelest way possible. Identity isn't just numbers on paper or names on cards. It's how you carry yourself when the world believes you're someone else. And no matter how much she stole, She could never steal the way my voice steadied when I said my own name. The final time I stood in front of the mirror, I looked myself in the eyes and whispered, "I am Maya Carter." The difference was this time I believed it.